welcome to the GSA how-to video library. In this lesson, we're going to look at converting liquid volume from larger units into smaller units. Something to remember is that converting to smaller units does not mean that you are going to get a smaller number. You are actually going to get a number that is dramatically larger than the number that you started with because your units are getting smaller. So the amount of volume that it would take to make a gallon might be 1, but to make a cup, which is the smallest unit, it's going to take many more cups. So a quick review of the 4 types of liquid volume that you're going to see in this lesson are gallons, which is the largest, quarts, pints, and cups. Gallon abbreviations is typically a G, quart is a Q, T, pint is a P, T, and cup is a lowercase c. So as we go forward, those are the units that you are going to see. So to start, we're going to take a look at gallons. So there are 3 different smaller units that you can convert a gallon into. And the first one we're going to look at is a quart. So a quart is the next largest, so gallon and then quart. So 1 gallon is equal to 4 quarts. So whenever I write this as an equation, I would say quarts is equal to 4 times a gallon, right? So what that means is, let's say I had 5 gallons and I wanted to know how many quarts that was. I would solve quarts equals 4 times my 5 gallons. Quarts would equal 20. I'd be able to find that there are 20 quarts in 5 gallons by multiplying my equation. If I wanted to go from gallons to pints, I now have 1 gallon that is equivalent to 8 pints. So the same process, I would start my equation, pints equals 8 times the number of gallons. So what that would look like, again, if I had 5 gallons, pints equals 8 times my 5 gallons, pints is equal to 40. So there are 40 pints in 5 gallons because it is 8 times as much. And then to go from gallons to cups, it is a 1:16 ratio, which means there are 16 cups in 1 gallon, similar to pounds and ounces. So for this one, I would do the same type of equation that I would do to go from ounces or from pounds to ounces, just the variables are different, right? So I would have a lowercase c for cups equals 16 times the number of gallons. So in this scenario, if I had 2 gallons, I would say cups is equal to 16 times 2. Cups is equal to, and then you could distribute 20 and 12, 32 is equal to 32 cups. Okay? So again, to go from gallons to quarts, it's a 1:4 ratio, so I would multiply the number of gallons by 4. Gallons to pints is a 1:8 ratio, which means I would multiply the number of gallons by 8. And gallons to cups is a 1:16 ratio, which means I'm going to multiply the number of gallons by 16. Okay? We're going to look at the next unit of liquid measurement, which is quarts. So we had gallons, and now we're going to go to quarts. We've already determined what it takes to go from a gallon to a quart. It's 1:4. So we're going to look at going from a quart to a pint and a quart to a cup. So a quart to a pint is a 1-to-2 ratio, which means I'm going to take the number of quarts and multiply it by 2. So my equation would look like pints equals 2 times the number of quarts. And what that would look like is if I had 5 quarts, I would multiply pints equals 2 times 5, and my pints is equal to 10. So that means there are 10 pints in 5 quarts. It's a 1-to-2 ratio. The same applies for quarts to cups. I would multiply cups is equal to 4, because it's a 1-to-4 ratio, times the number of quarts. And so what that would look like if I had 5 quarts would be the number of cups is equal to 4 times my 5 quarts, and the number of cups is equal to 20. So in 5 quarts, I would have 20 cups. So it's the same process once you know the ratio or how many there are in another. So there are 2 pints in 1 quart, there are 4 cups in 1 quart. It kind of helps to build your equation. And then the last one we're going to look at is pints to cups. So cups is the smallest unit, pints is the larger one next to it. So there are 2 cups in every pint. And so that means I'm going to take cups is equal to 2 times the number of pints. So again, if I had 5 pints, I would say cups is equal to 2 times my 5 pints, and that means I have 10 cups. So this is how you would convert liquid measurement from larger units into smaller units. And please remember that going into a smaller unit, your number is not getting smaller. Your number is going to increase, it is getting larger because you are multiplying. These ratios show, and your equations show, that you are multiplying, so your number is getting larger. If we were dividing, we would be going into larger units, so your number would get smaller. But because we are doing the opposite, we are doing multiplication and going into smaller units. I hope this video was helpful. Please rewatch if you need to rewatch. Converting liquid measurements is one of the harder aspects of converting measurements because there are so many to remember. I highly suggest that you write down the ratios and the equations that we made so that you can have them on hand and use them as you go through your lessons. I hope this was helpful.